I'm Justin Wright. I live down in Sussex, Brighton, well, in the area of Brighton, but in a small town called Seaford. Um, I've pretty much grown up in the Brighton area, and yeah, I'm 40 now, and I've worked as a graphic designer pretty much my whole life. So my whole life has been based around sort of just being on a computer, very much a corporate environment. And yeah, so I guess life-wise, it's been, we all have our own stories, but it's been quite stressful. In my sort of 20s, I went through lots of sort of failed IVF attempts. But pleased to say, it worked. Eventually, we did have twins. However, this did create a lot of debt. And so one of the things that I craved mostly sort of growing up has been money. So I always felt that money drives success. And it's only until recent times that I sort of realised that really the richest things in life are people, and really money can really create huge problems. So the word WOLA, I'll come to what that means in a minute. So WOLA was an idea that came about over something that was sort of very sad, really, that hit my family. So I've been with my wife since I was 17. We've sort of grown up together. Literally we were pretty much kids growing up to who we are now. Life has been good, it's been challenging at times. So we've always wanted to live life to the full, but unfortunately my wife got diagnosed with cancer, literally sort of a year and a half ago. We've got three children. I'm very proud to, say I've got three kids. I've lived a life. I've got twins. It's brilliant. But however, cancer sort of hit us for six, really. I've never had an experience of cancer. It's never in my family. I didn't really know much about it. It's always been a bit of a curveball for me because it's something that, the C word, especially our generation, you fear the worst. So when she was diagnosed, basically, this pink starts to create breast cancer awareness. So this is something I thought I'd put up here. So this is us. This is my family. So in the background there, you'll see the Seven Sisters, the famous White Cliffs of Sussex. They went out there from the D-Day landing of the plane. So it's quite a big landmark down where I live. So yeah, we've grown up. Some of my kids there, my dog, and yeah, so. Literally overnight, our world was turned upside down. So from going into hospitals and pretty much the unknown, from diagnosis to literally surgery, she had a double mastectomy, it was 8 days. So there wasn't really much time to deal what was going on. My wife hit it face first, she went straight in, and she did what she had to go and do. But for myself, I struggled massively to the fact that, I was commuting up to London, I was still working, I was almost living a lie, I was just pretending to, I say, my work friends or people who are in your circles, you just pretend everything's okay and you just get on with it, you go and have a beer, and you crack on the next day. But, one thing was happening is that I was struggling to sort of get the kids to school, hospital appointments, basically be a dad. I had to step up. And it became really challenging times. I began to drink more. Unfortunately, it was in my wife's lymph node, so it's a bit of a grey area that you don't really quite know what you're dealing with or how cancer as a family, because everyone kept coming up to myself and my wife, when she was getting better, post-surgery, just asking how we are all the time, and which is natural response, is what people, they don't really know what to say. And yeah, I got help. I sort of went through therapy. I didn't quite get on with that, and I ended up randomly, this guy. I remember going through my phone and going through all my mates and thinking, I need help. Think things aren't going that well. I was scared I was going to lose her. My kids were obviously asking me if mum's going to die. It was tough. However, I needed to step up and be a dad. So I remember going through my phone book and looking at all my mates, and literally I've deleted probably 90% of people on my phone, just thinking, they're no good for me. They either want to go and have a beer down the pub or, they've all got their own sort of problems and things that happen in life at our age. Is it relationships or large relationships? It's all this stuff that I couldn't quite deal with. And there was a guy called John in my phone. Ironically, it was a guy who I met years ago, probably about 4 years ago now, when my twins were very small. He's just a genuine guy. I met him in a park, and he had a dog and things. We were just chatting and got on really well with him. And I didn't know what he did for a job or anything, but there's a number I saved in my phone. But I really remember he had like a really nice sort of like calm around him. So randomly, I rang him out of the blue, and I remember him always saying, if ever you want to have a chat, or I'm always here. I rang him out of the blue, and little did I know that he was actually a life coach. He was like a mentor. I had no idea, but I started seeing him, and we were having weekly visits, phone calls, and he got me through those really tough times. And he made me sort of step up, really, I suppose, to being a dad. At the end of the day, as long as I put food on the table for my kids, get them to school, pick them up, literally be there for them, work, all that sort of stuff, that can wait. It just became such a big priority in my life growing up. That my family and my health, my children's health, that was all what matters. And little did I know, John had like a side business, I suppose, and it was called the Inspiration Program, and it's all about taking corporates out, so businesses out into the wild, into the wilderness, to sort of into nature essentially. And he runs this with a guy called Neil Lawton. Neil Lawton is a guy that used to be ex-ASS. He was in the Paris with Bear Grylls. They've grown up together, and he was the safety officer on Bear Grylls' TV show. So Neil, he's very, a man's man. He's very practical. He's got all these incredible stories. He's summited like every summit. It's incredible the things he's been on. So they go away and take people away. So where it gets a bit random is I got a phone call. It was last November. So John rings me up and he's like, "Just, what are you doing like in 3 weeks?" And I was literally, my wife was sort of recovering. Things were not that great, but Christmas was coming up, so things were sort of okay. And he said, "Look, we're going out to the Himalayas. Do you want to come with us on like an expedition, like Himalayas trek?" And politely, I sort of said, "Oh, I'll have a think about it. I'll get back to you later." But literally, I just wanted to put the phone down. I couldn't think of anything worse. This is from myself. I haven't even been past the M25, literally up to London on my own. I literally have been with my wife since I was 17. We've done everything together. So the thought of, little old me going on, even with my own passport or, it was just unheard of. So I came home and I mentioned it to my wife. And I didn't know, but she replied to the text John, basically said, "Yeah, he would love to come. Great." So obviously I went to bed, didn't think anything of it, didn't even call him that night. And my phone was going crazy in the morning, saying, "Oh, brilliant, glad to have you on board and everything." So, so basically off I went to the Himalayas 3 weeks later, into the unknown. So I suppose my wife said yes, and I had to say yes. So, off I went. We flew at Heathrow. And so it was, for myself, I've never been away on my own. I've never, looking back on it now, I needed a break. It was too much going on all at once. So off I went. This was in Istanbul, the airport. We got a connecting flights, and there were some monks basically on their iPhones. They were great, chatting away. And, it's basically for myself, seeing a change of culture. I've never really traveled either. So, I've always done the standard holidays, the beaches and things with the kids. But I've never been in other sort of environments or seen other, religions or cultures. So we landed in Kathmandu. I can describe it. If anyone who's been there will know, it is absolutely crazy. Noisy. The altitude's quite high, so you feel it straight away when you land. But the first thing that I noticed were the people. It's full of life. It's full of smiles. Everyone just wanted. They basically love tourism. They love people to come and see what they're about. They're like an open book. So, we went up to all the sort of. I think we spent 2 days there. So this is Thermal Temple. They're known as where you see all the monkeys. Just literally climatising because it's high up. Wandering around the cities, just taking it all in. Which was, to be honest, I thought, oh, this is relaxing. This is nice. And then, your selfie, plenty of them. And yeah, that's another thing going back to stuff, but you don't realise when you're on your own that you have to take lots of selfies or pictures of people or just scenery, and it becomes a little bit mundane. So yeah, you see crazy people just on the tuk-tuk things, and food's good. It's very simple way of life straight away. It's quite basic. Everything has a function. And there's the ladies here going out for the night. So you can see that it's just full of life and colour. So then the next morning, we fly up to Lukla, which is the most, according to, well, it's pretty much the most dangerous airport in the world. It's basically on a mountain top. It's the highest airport, and there's been more accidents there literally in the last sort of 20 years than anywhere else, anywhere. So it was a tiny little plane. It had propellers. It was terrible, if I'm honest. And that was my first sort of sight of the mountains, the Himalayas. Off we went, and we landed literally on a mountain top. For you guys who want to see, I actually did a video for this evening that I'm sure that Tanya will share the link to later, and you can see all about my trip and everything that went on. So, and I'll tell you a bit more about that later. So yeah, so this is the runway. So you can imagine landing on that is absolutely horrendous. So the plane literally comes over the top of the mountain in the front and nosedives down onto the landing strip. And obviously it takes off from the same strip there. So straight away, when you're that high up, it was freezing when we landed. So from memory, it's about -5. It's very early morning, but you sort of got all the kit. You're pretty much geared up for it. But literally, when the sun comes out, it is beautiful. So in the day when I was walking around, it was probably sort of mid-20s, maybe 30s. It was so hot, it was beautiful. But as soon as you go in the shade and the evenings, it's probably about -10. So the water's freezing, your drink's freezing. Yeah, it's absolutely freezing. So yeah, look, this is up in Lukla. So you arrive down and you wander past, and it's bizarre. So all the children there are all kitted out, like our kids really. There's huge charities out there that fund for the children. So the kids, they've all got the right clothes on. They're all very smart, all smiling, all happy. And this guy here, so the yak, he'd become our friend for the next sort of 10 days, and he would help carry all our stuff to each locations. And you'll see, so we're just wandering around. There's paths, a cassette path that you go through so it's basically the Everest region. You can see, even though it looks really, really hot here, it was, it's freezing. The water's so cold. But you can see the mountains, the life, the kids. I'll just go through a few little photos and you can get a sense of ideas. So early on, it's very picturesque, very sort of quite a gentle climb, really. Yeah, off I go. And then you have, gas, you have like the donkeys, the horses carrying all this up. So obviously no time for a cigarette, carrying all the gas. And yeah, the time of year. So interestingly, I went sort of first week of December, and the season shuts down sort of mid-November. So it's ideal time to go out there. All the tourists sort of have gone, because I've been told it could actually be pretty busy on the trekking areas where I went. And literally there was hardly anyone around. It was amazing. And you get all these crazy bridges. You have to obviously wait, and you wait for like the luggage and things to come through. And you get the peace flags everywhere. It's lovely. And yeah, life carries on. You just sort of arrive at these crazy little villages, just honestly in the middle of nowhere. There's no transport can get there, but the kids are running around. Everyone's getting on with their lives. They're all happy. So Serin here. So this guy here, he's interesting. So Serin, he was with us. He's one of the Sherpas that helped us up. He also owns the travel company. So the Inspiration Program, he's actually a director in that too. So he actually owns, he's part of World Health Nepal, and he's got a hospital that he runs. He's got 3 of them down, one in Pokhara region and up in the north in Nepal. And his English is amazing, and he's a fluent translator. And little did I know he'd become one of my best mates on the travel. It's just brilliant. So yeah, look at this place. They were randomly playing badminton. You get a sense of height here. So you can see like the bridges going across. And Serin again. And then yeah, these you get, so the elderly, it's really sad. So the Sherpas there, they literally get paid to obviously take. So this guy, he'd be going up to like base camp, and honestly, we wouldn't be able to lift that. It's insane. But they go up and they get they suffer some really bad coughs. All the dirt, the dust, and everything. And when you see some of the older guys carrying the stuff, you just can't believe it. But the way the culture is out there, even though we would see that as poor guy lifting all that, they'd actually get paid very, very well to do that. And they're actually really respected. So the children will grow up in the Valley of the Mountains and actually want to become Sherpas and take that lead role from their fathers. Here you can see there's the snow caps. And then this place here, so Namche Bazaar. So this is one of the highest towns in the world, actually. So it's not very big, but it's beautiful. You've got valleys all around you. You've got you have all the things that it's not as basic as you think. They do have food, and it is simple, but it's very very nourishing. It's not very much fatty food. It's all quite healthy. So this guy's called Nima, and he was with us. He helped us trek as well. So Nima has actually summited Everest 8 times. He's actually in this year's Guinness Book of Records. If you have a flick through next time you see it, for the world's highest dinner party. And he's there, he's with the guy, Neil Lawton, who I went with as well. He's in there too. But one of the things that really struck me were how, the life. So Nima, he's had, over the last 5 years, he's lost 24 of his family. His father's died in the mountains. There was an earthquake that wiped, majority of his friends out. Sering, I think he lost about 8 people in the last 3 years. And this is their life. They literally travel the mountains, and it's shocking, really. But they're so happy. They're just quite happy to crack on with it. They believe that the mountains, create happiness, create life, and embrace ourselves around nature. So now we're getting high up. Things are starting to die out. There's not much sort of nature really. You think it's a bit more rugged. And then here, the helicopters. So these began to base camp, but also taking stuff up to the villages. So obviously you can see the wood there, the gas canisters. And then so these are the walkways on the left, and I guess at this height, this is sort of helicopters would be flying underneath you. You get a real sense of vertigo, and the movie that hopefully you'll see later, you'll see a lot of the footage, and you'll see the height and helicopters below you. It's crazy. And I'm pretty clumsy, so it's pretty sketchy. And you see we're getting really high up now. And then here, this place was crazy. So the highest hotel in the world is called the Everest Hotel. And so straight ahead, I think you can see slightly, you can just about see the tip of it. That's Everest there. And you literally have to wait for the clouds to move, and it does appear now and again. But literally that photo there, I was told it's about 400 miles an hour. You wouldn't be able to survive if you went up there. It'd be, for one, far too cold, far too windy. And I learned that people only summit Everest, I think it's 5 weeks of a year, and that is it. That's the only window anyone can go to Everest. It's I didn't realise that. I thought people could pretty much travel up to it whenever they like, according to the weather. Hence why we had Nima with us and Seri, because they obviously do the treks a lot, and it was out of season, so they came with us. And it's a nice shot down the valley that we travelled up. And this probably one of the best photos I've ever taken. So looking down on Namche Bar, I was actually taking photos of those rocks. It's only when I got home I realised there was a rainbow there. Lovely photo, happy memories. And that was at that's pretty much about 5,000 feet, I think. So that was high enough for me. So the altitude, I weren't too bad with it. The others who I went with, they suffered quite a lot. They moaned a lot. But I was fine. Anyone who recommend, wants to do this sort of stuff, you don't have to be that, massively fit, but it's just sort of the recovery times. You just got to eat well. You got to fuel up. If you're burning a lot of calories, when you're climbing the mountains. That's good. And then so it comes on to Wolo. So I went there for a break, essentially, little did I know that I came back with a complete different insight to my life and where it was going, and obviously my wife and how she was feeling and who I wanted to be. So I came back happier, I suppose. It gave me a lesson in life. So we decided to set up WOLO Foundation. So WOLO, the charity, is basically based off. So when my wife was ill, it was only probably 5 people in her life, maybe 6, that really stepped up, and they helped. They would come around, they would help, cut the grass for the kids because they wanted to play football, or Fleur might need to travel into chemotherapy, or or I might need the kids picking up. So real basic things that you think everyday stuff. But literally, I walked out of hospital with just a Macmillan phone number. I mean, they do a fantastic job, but the reality is there's not really much help out there. You do have to, get on with your own devices, really. Maybe it's my upbringing, or how I was looking back on it. I didn't have the tools to get myself through this sort of tough time. It's only when I realised, I went away and realised who I become, that money, greed, wealth, it really doesn't. It's not high on the list. It's about health. It's about your connections, your family, the people around you. So yes, we set up a charity. Me being a designer, I can create content pretty easily. And there's always, an amazing story that other people can inspire us to. So part of this journey, I think it's been going for just before COVID. It was registered charity. We've probably raised, maybe about £50,000, which is an incredible amount. And that's because people sort of get it, I suppose. They stepped up, and they understand that, it's 1 in 2, our generation, we are going to be hit by cancer at some point. That's believed. So obviously it's not all bad, but I have this thing where I want to sort of teach my kids to be the kid that, someone, well, it did happen. Someone in their school, they lost their mum to cancer, and my kids were one of the kids that they came up to, and I want them to be, there for other children, or all their friends, or even their dads or their parents. And I want my kids to associate cancer with, it'd be okay, don't worry. At the end of the day, I'm lucky. My wife's lucky. She survived. She's surviving. But the reality is, if you want to Google lymph nodes cancer, you get a horrendous stat, and it says, you'd be lucky to live 5, 6, 7 years. But do I take that? No, we crack on. So hence why we only live once. So yeah, really the things that I'd love to do. So when I came back from this trip, so Neil and John, who we went away with, who he's been mentoring me, they mentioned that they'd love to collaborate with WOLO. So later in this year, hopefully, well, it'll be COVID, so it'll be next year. We hopefully plan to take some families, or if not individuals, out to Pokhara, the jungle region of Nepal, and show people that, that just give them a break. And it did me a world of good. I'd love to think it do other people brilliantly. So hopefully, that's the dream, to create this charity where we can really get people out in nature. Hopefully we can get people in England as well. So, I recently went down to Cornwall to do a recce down there, in Wales. So we've got a few things lined up. But for here and now, it's the practical side of things, how we can help people day to day of their lives. And unfortunately, it does change you. And you've got to embrace change. And me and my wife, my family, we didn't want to be defined by cancer, who we are. Didn't want people to feel sorry for us, so we tried to take a negative and change it into a positive. So, we're doing something really positive now, and it honestly, I've never had that sort of feeling where if you do something for someone, how good it feels, and just seeing them smile and say thank you. My old life, it'd be a thank you on an email, and that'd be it. It just seems crazy. I feel that I want to connect with people, and I'm sort of finding that it's going incredible. Actually, it's really inspiring. It's really amazing in the short space of time how far it's come. But we don't want to grow it into this huge charity. Hence why we're just looking after people in Sussex where we live. Because one of the things I don't want it to do is become out of control. I want it to be a bespoke charity for bespoke families. So we care for the cancer patients, we care for the dads, the mums, and we care for the children, and also the friends if needed. So over COVID, we've been doing sort of food parcels, so really high nutritionist food for people who go through chemo because they can't go out because they've got a shield. But also there's treats in there for the children, so there might be some cool games for the kids, or there's like a zoo by us, Drusilla, so we gave away like an annual pass for the children. So in all this, I've become a guinea pig basically, and I do loads of challenges and loads of sort of events and sort of obscure events too. So I want to try and inspire people to do some sort of crazy stuff. So this is where the Yes Tribe came in. I randomly came across the Yes Tribe because I noticed that Emma and Dave, their bus, the Yes bus, is actually in Sussex. I had no idea, and I believe that it's it's not far from where I live because I saw one of the posts that they put up and sort of looked into what he's been up to, and the sort of things he's done in his in the last 5-6 years, and it's amazing, it's incredible. So I suppose what I want to say to you guys on this call is I'd love you guys to sort of believe in me and my wife, our ethos and what we're doing. And I'd love you guys to, if you're ever doing any of these sort of crazy expeditions, or it can be something with your children. It doesn't have to be a big thing. It can just be something that's a moment in your life. One thing springs to mind. So when COVID happened, I took the kids down the beach at, I think it's 4:30, saw the sunrise. It was a WOLO moment for me, but the reality was the kids screamed and thought it was really boring. But they look back on that and remember when Dad dragged them down the beach. But yeah, life's about creating these little moments and spending it around people, like-minded people, and hence why you guys, you guys do loads of interesting things, and thank you for basically listening to me today. And hopefully tomorrow's going to put a link up with my website, sort of Facebook. Follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and get involved. It'd be amazing, and I really appreciate the support. And there's a lot of it. Men's mental health. I've struggled. I've been on medication for like 15 years of my life, antidepressants. Not great, but I'm sure there's lots of people out there far worse than me who are struggling right now. But yeah, that's my story really. So check out the video later on the chat and let me know what you think.